guys, and welcome to my review of the newest Haikyuu chapter. I should really start remembering what chapters they are. But this chapter was called The Other Day, and it mostly focuses on Daichi, which I was pleasantly surprised by. And I'm gonna be honest, I was so confused when I started reading this chapter because it did not occur to me that we'd be starting in a dream, and I tried to apply so much logic to those first panels that I was just like, is this a flashback? Is this like a weird scenario where they lost and Daichi can't remember? Is he in a coma? Is this a fanfiction? What's going on? I was so confused until he woke up, or until I was like, wait a minute. Basketball? He's the only one in the club? Wait a second. I was so slow, but it made so much sense when he woke up and it was like, okay, it was just a bad dream, which apparently in Japan signifies that if you have a bad dream on the night between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, that's just like a bad start to the year. And further into the story, where we have the third years going to the shrine and like thanking gods or praying or whatever, they draw those luck things, which I have forgotten what they're called, but you know what they are because they are in a lot of anime. But they draw those things, and while Daichi and Suga gets late blessings, so that they will have blessings later in that year, which probably isn't the best foreshadowing as the spring tournament is like 5 days away. But Asahi gets curse, which is like almost the worst thing you can get. I don't think Shimizu draws one of these things because she buys those lucky charms that I have here, and I showed you at some point. You know, these, just not Haikyuu versions. So that's probably what she got them. We also have Shimizu telling the third years that they shouldn't depend on luck to win the spring tournament, because of course it's like skill, determination, and just endurance and whatnot that makes you win. It's not luck. Luck can be a factor, but it's like a teeny factor in winning an actual tournament. Like, and they wouldn't have come this far without with luck anyway. Like, luck can't make you win against Shiratorizawa. That's just a fact. But I really like that we focused mainly on Daichi. And we also had him meeting up again with Ikechiri, which I thought was really great, because I never expected him to come back, because we fought him that one time. We had a few moments like kind of defining Daichi's character and how he's always been this captain-y kind of way. He was the captain back in his middle school, and he's always been really determined and optimistic even though all the odds are against him. Which is quite like how I felt he was very doubting in this chapter, because he was just like, okay, everything just seems to go wrong on this day, and then Ikechiri kind of comes in and says like, just stop that, and he gets back to being optimistic and Daichi again, which I thought was really nice. I really like focusing on Daichi because he's always there, but we never get like a moment with him. It's kind of like how he plays with them, because he's always there. He fills in the gaps, but he doesn't really stand out. I think what's his name? Little Giant Captain from Wakunan. He keeps saying this about Daichi, that he's not an outstanding player. Or is it Oikawa? One of them says in that match that Daichi isn't an outstanding player, but he's always there. He's the foundation of everything. So having a chapter focused on him, or mostly focused on him, is really great. And we get to see his captainness. We get to see kind of these things that drive him, the volleyball club and all that. And I actually found it really sweet and a bit heartbreaking when I went back to read the beginning of the chapter with his dream, where like you could just see in his face his shock and horror of being told that you're the only member in the volleyball club, when he knows he's always been with Suga and Asahi. And it was so heartbreaking also watching him go through his contacts, and Asahi and Suga just weren't there. Like, they just weren't there. I really found that interesting, how that's kind of like his worst fear. Or maybe not his worst fear, I guess that everyone dying around him or something would be his worst fear, but it's still really heartbreaking, and it's gonna be really sad when they lose, because one of the like most emotional, like heartwarming and emotional moments of recent chapters, I'm gonna say, is when when Karasuno wins Shiratorizawa and you just have that panel of the third years hugging and crying because they finally made it to the main spring tournament. I thought that was so emotional, and just knowing in my heart that they won't win this tournament and that after this they will have to retire because then they literally graduate from high school, I think that's so sad. And just like as I said, the fact that Suga and Daichi drew the luck in the future thing, it's just, of course for them it shouldn't mean anything because it's literally just like, it's random what you draw, but because this is a manga, this is of course intentional from the mangaka, and that probably means that their good luck and fortune won't come in January where the spring tournament is held, or at least some part of it, because this is the spring tournament. So I would imagine that the last parts of it would be played in March, which is the last month of their school year, and also I just feel like it would make more sense, because if not, why the hell would you call it the spring tournament? Why not the winter tournament if it's played in winter? Or is Japan different in that way that they see other months as spring? I don't know, but I just feel like it should have been called Winter Tournament if everything was played in January. But then again, for it to make a lot of sense, it would make more sense for it to be in January, because I imagine that March and the end of February would be exam period. But I'm getting too much into the details now. Now, going away from Daichi a little bit, we had a few moments with some of the other characters. We had Hinata inviting Kageyama to go with him and Yamaguchi. Do you remember in a few chapters ago when I talked about Hinata and Yamaguchi's friendship? This just confirmed that I was in fact very, very right about them having bonded, because they went to a shrine together. I would really have imagined that that was a thing that Yamaguchi and Tsuki would always do, but we see Tsuki with his family, though he is ignoring and making his brother cry by not paying attention to him, so he's just kind of drinking his sorrows in beer. But that's not important. The point was that Yamaguchi and Hinata went to the shrine together, and I thought that was really cute. And apparently from the way back, they must have parted ways because Hinata meets Kageyama, who was out for a run, Tanaka, who was running away from his sister, and Nishinoya, who was doing something I can't recall, but probably something not good. Because it's Nishinoya, what do you expect? So that was really fun, but we have Daichi, of course, interrupting whatever the hell they were doing and just telling them to not do anything to make themselves injured or sick, and I just feel like that's a bad omen. I do not trust this at all, and how sad would it be if the one who actually got sick was Daichi, because the only thing I could think of in the rest of this chapter was the fact that Daichi wasn't wearing gloves. So how weird would it be if he, like, on the second day or something, he just got ill? Because they'll play 1 or 2 matches each day. I'm expecting it to be kind of the same as the preliminaries, where they played 2 matches a day until the finals, where they just played that one game, which was very long. Like, it wasn't just 2 extra sets, it was also just the fact that every set almost was a due, so that was just... They'll probably end up going down on stamina, because if they'll play 2 matches each and every day against top tier schools, then 1 match will take down a lot more stamina than a match in just their in Miyake district. So I really think that what will end up breaking them will be stamina. Especially because 3 of their regulars, as well as their pinch server, are first years. And I'm guessing that many of the top tier schools usually have their 3rd years and their really strong 2nd years, such as Sakusawa, or whatever his name is, from Itachiyama, the 2nd best spiker. You know who I'm talking about, right? Last thing before I end up this review is that the day basically spans over 4 days or 3.5 days. Start on New Year's Eve, and then we go to January the 4th, which is the day that they leave to go to Tokyo, I presume, to play the spring tournament, which starts on January the 5th. And I imagine that if anyone has gotten ill, we'll see it in the next chapter. And I also kind of expect someone to get an injury, and I kind of I want to say I hope, just because I want to see Libero come in next year, but I kind of want Nishinoya to get injured. Not too badly, like not Kiyoshi Teppei from Kurokuro Basket injured, but just like a light sprain or something that just goes to show that they can't do with just having one libero, because I think that's relatively dangerous, because Nishinoya is so good and we know that he's very, very reckless at times. Like, we know that in the period where Asahi wasn't there, he literally had so many bruises that Tanaka was worried for him. He was like, Nishinoya, what's with all those like injuries? And he was just like, well, I've been practicing my block follow. And Tanaka just has this look of terror on him, just, what have you been doing to yourself? I mean, and Nishinoya is just like a ball of energy. He can do a lot of shit. Like, it's almost Hinata level, the energy and just the weird flexibility and stuff he has. So I could really imagine him getting injured. Again, not in like a serious, he needs to get surgery way, but just as in he can't play the rest of the game or something. And I guess to further support this idea, we need to remember that in the Nekoma versus, I think it was Nekoma versus the Snake team, Happy something, their libero, like their main libero got injured, but they had a spare who then got a lot of character development, and he was really cute. But the point I'm trying to make here is Nekoma survived because they had a spare libero, like they had a backup plan. If Nishinoya goes out, Karasuno doesn't have a backup plan. They don't have any solid receivers. Like, they have Daichi, and that's basically it. Kageyama. Hinata is pretty shit at receiving. Tsuki is pretty shit at receiving. Asahi is probably okay, and so is Tanaka. And I imagine Kageyama is pretty good as well. Because Kageyama is a setter, he should at all costs avoid receiving the ball because he needs to have second touch. And they can't just do with one kind of good receiver, aka Daichi, 2 average receivers, and then 2 really shit receivers. That can't happen. That's just not a thing that should exist. Yet it does. Cause if Nishinoya goes out, what can they do? So yeah. Stamina, the fact that they only have one libero, and maybe lack of experience with these players, I think a lot of things will contribute to them not getting as far in the tournament as they potentially could have had they just been a little better prepared, had they been a little bit of a better, bigger club, or just had some sort of experience, because we need to remember that they have not played many of the people who are in this tournament. They won Seijo, I'm gonna say not purely because they were experienced with them, but it was probably a good main factor because they had a bunch of counterattacks to like deal with Seijo, and they got a lot of problems when they brought in Mad Dog, Kentaro something, because that was just such an unknown factor, and while he was a double-edged sword, it was such a huge problem for Karasuno because he was so unpredictable. So the fact that they are basically in this tournament and they go in with blind eyes, or yeah, that's gonna be a huge factor. I'm just talking about a lot of things that aren't good for Karasuno. I am expecting that in the next chapter we have Ukai coming in and basically giving us an overview, because last chapter ended up with him being like, oh, have you got the video footage of the first team we're gonna fight? So I'm guessing that in the next chapter he'll give us an overview of how the matches are gonna be set up. Are they gonna play 1 or 2 matches each day, and who's their first opponent? How far would they need to get if they potentially had to fight against Nekoma, which is kind of like a long-term goal that Karasuno has always had since the beginning of time. And will they have to face other schools? They know, like, they could potentially face Fukurodani before they face Nekoma, or do they have to face Itachiyama before that, or something like that. I have already put out that I think it would potentially be Nekoma, Fukurodani, and Itachiyama, except they will not beat Nekoma, it'll then be Nekoma versus someone, and then yeah. I still stand by I want Itachiyama to face off against Fukurodani in the finals, because I think that would be really great, and I want to see that match. I'm gonna end off my review here because it's probably pretty long and I'm expecting other chapters to be out at this point in time. I have Haikyuu and Boku no Hero Academia, no One Piece and no Shokugeki no Soma. I don't have school tomorrow though, so I was actually, because last week I did all my videos in one day and I was done at 3 a.m. and I had school at 8 a.m. Which then meant that I kind of skipped classes that next day. But I don't want to do that again, so on days where I have classes the next day, I will not be doing all of my videos on that one day because education first. I am sorry guys, but really I need to take school serious here. But yeah, if you like anything to say, you can leave a like on this video. Leave in the comments below what you thought of this chapter and what you potentially think that the foreshadowing in this chapter means, because I think that's kind of the main point of this chapter, was setting up the things to happen in the spring tournament and just in future chapters in general. And you can subscribe if you want to see more of me. I also do reviews of, I basically just said this, One Piece, Shokugeki no Soma, Boku no Hero Academia, and I do weekly videos on Haikyuu the anime and One Piece the anime. So if you're into any of those, you can subscribe, and until next time, bye!